Hey guys, welcome and thanks for joining another ranked casted replay. Today we're going to have myself on the Vampire Coast versus Canard's Beautois on Nurgle. Excuse me, taking a sip of my morning coffee. Alright, let's jump right in. We'll take a look at both of the builds, as we always do. For my opponent, on the Nurgle player, we have Kugath Plaguefather and a Soul Grinder in the front line, starting to fire right away. These are both basically artillery units, or range units, I guess you would call them, but they have quite long range. Kugath, running with Stream of Corruption, Miasma of Pestilence, and Blight Boil for spells, along with all his passive spells and abilities. Soul Grinder, got a pretty good range of 360, 14, I think 15 ammunition. I think he just shot one. Magic damage ammunition, also armor piercing and poison with 356 damage on the missile. So they are going to hurt. They're good for taking out clumps and they're good for taking out large targets. Also a very good melee combatant as well when he has to commit to the battle. Behind them we have a front line of Nurglings. One of them being the Regiment of Renown, the Frolickers Bubonic. These guys here have passive healing, I believe it is, while in melee. Yes, enabled if in melee. They have damage reflection and healing, plus leadership +8. So pretty good for Nurglings, actually. They'll bump and grind and stay in the battle for quite a while if they're not bursted down. In the middle, we have Plague Bearers of Nurgle, a strong melee unit, kind of the core infantry type unit, tier 2 unit. These guys have magic and poison on their attacks. Weapon strength of 48, and melee defense 32, melee attack of 30. So pretty solid stats, pretty high weapon damage for infantry actually. And they have 11,500 HP, so they're quite tanky as well. He's got 3 units of those. And in the back line, we have the Exalted Plague Bearers of Nurgle. These are the ranged unit of the Plague Bearers. They have three missiles, magic damage, poison, and armor piercing, 38 missile strength. These guys, if they get all their hits off, even 1 or 2 volleys on a unit before they engage, they do a ton of damage, and usually can win them the engagement if it's a fairly even matchup. Their melee attack is also poison and magic, so these guys are very strong. And he also has a Regiment of Renown version of the Plague Bearers, the Festering Stooges. These guys also have the ranged attack and everything, but they also have the passive ability to heal. So enabled if in melee as well, just like the other Nurglings over here. So he's going to have a lot of healing, as always you can expect with Nurgle, along with his Lord having healing and the passive Nurgle just army ability. One of them is healing. It's like a chain heal for clumped up units. So that's why you usually see Nurgle players with all the clumped up units. Is just the way their abilities work. For me, we have Count Noculus as my lord up on his Necrofex, or I believe that's what it's called anyway, his big undead ship here. It's a cannon artillery piece, can fire while moving, missile strength of 737, very strong missiles, 22 ammunition, melee weapon strength of 412, and armor piercing as well. So a strong solid unit as a ranged unit and as a melee unit in itself, I find. And he's also a spellcaster, so I have a few abilities here. His passives, Wraith Storm, which is a bombardment. It comes down, shoots down some magic missiles from above. It's pretty good for big targets or clumped up units. Captain Roth's Moon Dial, which is a summon of deckhand mob, pirate deckhand mobs. I have used 2 of those. They don't cost any winds of magic. And for abilities, I brought Drown Dead, which is a summon of the same thing, pirate deckhand mobs. I get 4 uses of that. Invocation of Nehek, which is the heal, and Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, which is direct damage to units of 25 or above. So any kind of clumped up infantry unit, this would do good damage to, or cavalry, something like that. We also have the Lamprey's Revenge, Regiment of Renown, Rotting Prometheans. These guys are armor piercing, melee, and ranged. Very good, can fire while moving, and very tanky. So just a good unit to have in there. Good elite, monstrous infantry type unit. We also have in my back line 2 mortars, we brought Queen Bess. I thought she'd be good for the fire damage, and I was hoping, you know, for some big Nurgle clumps to fire into. This thing loves shooting into big clumped up units. Does a ton of damage. You guys have probably seen Queen Bess before. It's just a really good artillery piece if it can get its shots off. We also have 3 units of zombie pirate gunnery mob bombers. These guys do fire damage. They have short range, but they do fire damage, so I wanted to get fire range units to bring in against Nurgle to counter the healing a little bit. Fire helps counter the healing. We also have 3 zombie pirate deckhand mobs at polearm variant. These guys are armor piercing and anti-large. We have 3 of those just to deal with things like Kugath or soul grinders or possibly monstrous toad infantry. We weren't quite sure what this guy was going to bring. We also have zombie pirate gunnery mobs in the front line, 4 of those, and my little surprise for Nurgle, I was thinking about the clumped up infantry my opponent would probably take, so I took 2 bloated corpses. These guys are basically a suicide unit. They run them into a big clump of infantry or cavalry or something, and they do a huge AoE explosion, killing themselves but doing a ton of damage. You can get a ton of value out of these guys. You just have to be careful how you use them because they can hurt your own units too. Okay, let's get the game started. Alright, so right away, as I was going over the army, Kugath and the Soul Grinder basically pummeled this first unit of zombie pirate gunnery mobs. Pretty much taking them off the map right away. I just kind of walked them forward to try to go attack them. May as well have them moving instead of just sitting there. They're going to get taken out anyway. The rest of my army's just chilling because I want to get some shots off with Queen Bess. Definitely shouldn't be targeting Kugath with Queen Bess. Not going to get much done there. But I do have Count Noculus. He's moving up. He's going to start firing away on Kugath. As well as the Lamprey's Revenge, Rotting Promethean. I'm going to bring them up too. These guys are kind of like my mobility and a little bit of range that I'm just going to come up and try to poke Kugath with. Changing targets, Queen Bess. Starting to put them in on the Frolicker's Bubonic here, trying to get some hits on his more elite infantry, but he's doing a really good job. This guy knows how to dodge Queen Bess. He knows how to dodge artillery, so as soon as I'm firing on these things, he's clicking on my Queen Bess, seeing what's being targeted. Now I'm targeting these, and every time I fire, he ends up moving his units around, and I don't get much value with Queen Bess yet out of any of the shots here. Soul Grinder and Kugath start shooting in on my Lamprey's Revenge as they see them moving in, but Noculus getting some good chunking done on Kugath here. He again dodges my artillery strike from Queen Bess as she's taken almost half damage already, so not good trading for me, not good value out of Queen Bess. I've basically hit nothing already. Lamprey's Revenge do a little charge in on Kugath, but he's going to back up. I'm not going to fully commit to that. I also back up as I see all the Nurglings coming in. I don't want to get all bogged down in all of this. These guys can kind of lock me up. These guys are a little bit clunky, so it's hard to pull them out when they fully engage in melee. So we just go in, do a little poke, and swing back out. Getting some good poke on Kugath, actually, trying to make him use a bit of his healing maybe on himself instead of his army. So pretty good value on his lord, but no value at all on Queen Bess. Not really hitting anything at all. He did a really good job at dodging my artillery, so kind of a shaky start. We're evening things out a little bit by poking Kugath, but I don't know how worth. Really doesn't feel good when you take a 1600 gold unit like Queen Bess here. Very can be very devastating, but also very vulnerable to counterfire. It's big, so the Soul Grinder and Kugath that were shooting at it before did a lot of damage to it. And so far, I've done no damage to his army. That's the first tiny bit of a hit there, and it's just a tickle. So not going so well in the artillery department. So we decide to start moving the army up. We need to close the gap here. I don't want to lose. I'm going to lose Queen Bess before I even do any damage to him. So we decide to start putting on a little pressure. Moving up the Lamprey's Revenge, going for the Soul Grinder here. Maybe stop him from shooting. He's shooting at Count Noculus, but Count Noculus is shooting at Kugath. And we have a little triangle of shooting going on here. But I think we're getting the better of it right now. Rotting Promethean's coming in, getting some good hits on the Soul Grinder right away. He's starting to get chunked down a little bit. They bring in some support, some Nurglings. I again back off. Not going to fully commit to that. I don't want to get bogged down in all this stuff right in front of the rest of his army with no support behind these guys that can get there very fast. So we just kind of pull back. He pulls back as well. He doesn't want to get his soul grinder beat up too bad. So we just both sort of disengage on that one. All the meanwhile, Count Noculus is poking away. He's starting to get some good poke on Kugath. He's going to want to be careful. Kugath is a great lord, and he does really good damage with his artillery. Like, he is taking down my Queen Bess, but he's so big. He's taking a lot of counterfire. I think that's what you have to be careful when you're playing Kugath of the enemy range, because he's so big, he's going to get hit a lot. Queen Bess does actually get a nice hit in on these Plague Bears now, and they're actually starting to get in range of my mortars. So the mortar's helping out. He can't really dodge the mortars as easily. It's not a big slow projectile like Queen Bess. So some of these are going to start to connect now. We're going to start to get some good value from our artillery. Front lines begin to close. These zombie gunnery mobs start to fire in. I'm not sure what he threw down here. Maybe a Blight Boil. But I had a couple clumped up units. Yeah, Blight Boil. So that was a pretty good one there. I try to move away a little bit, but it's just a little bit too late. And he does a good amount of damage to both these units. Almost routing both of them right away. So good start when the front lines come together here. Lamprey's Revenge kind of holding up a few blobs here. I throw them in. They're taking a lot of damage. I do eventually put a heal down on them from Count Noculus, but these are probably not the guys I want in the front line. They're the guys I want coming in to support the front line. But just the way things went down, they kind of got stuck there, and I had to commit. So zombie pirate gunnery mobs, they're trying to support, shooting in at the Exalted Plague Bears. Count Noculus here, still shooting at Kugath. Want to poke him down and take him out. Artillery uncontested in the back line, still firing away. Queen Bess got a couple more shots in her. She's going to shoot at these clumps back here at some of these more elite units, getting some good damage value. Bloated Corpse going in, trying to get some value. He blows up, does some pretty good damage there. The other one, actually, I must have missed it, but he went in here. I had some gunnery mobs right here. I went in for these Plague Bears of Nurgle, and it did do some good damage to those guys, but it absolutely deleted my own units. So we have to be careful how we use that. It does do friendly fire. And things kind of just de-escalate into a big blob fight here over in the back line. Mystifying Miasma going down from Count Noculus on his regiment of renowned Plague Bears. Getting as much damage as I can on those, because those guys are healing, so he wants to get them in on melee. Kugath taking quite a bit of damage. Zombie Pirate Polearms getting up on him. They're kind of holding him up. They're anti-large and armor piercing, along with these zombie pirate gunnery mobs and the bombers firing in. He's taking a ton of damage. Count Noculus also supporting. Calling in a couple of deckhand summons over here to hold up all these Plague Bears. Pretty good. Just a couple summons holding up 4 of his units. 3 of them being fairly elite. So pretty good value for me there. I am taking some poke, but I think Noculus can take it for now. I want to commit and take out this Kugath. He's almost dead. I just have to finish him off. Over on the right side, he's driving in my right flank with his Soul Grinder and the Frolicker's Bubonic. These guys are bumping and grinding, healing up, and supporting the Soul Grinder. Doing a good job kind of just bashing his way through multiple units, but he's starting to get stiffer resistance here as he runs into the polearms. He's got Zombie Pirate Gunnery Bombers helping out, so fire damage going down, and sitting in 2 units of anti-large polearms. Things are starting to swing my way over on this side. Back towards the middle, Kugath is so low, 2,000 HP left, but he's pulled back, trying to get a little distance, throwing some spells down on his army. But I just keep spreading out my range units here, firing in on these Plague Bears, getting some good value. These guys do get hit fairly easy. They are infantry, but they're quite big infantry, so they're pretty easy to hit for range units, which is a bonus for me. Count Noculus actually getting very low from these Plague Bears. He's getting beat to crap. I have to throw down an Overcast Invocation of Nehek on myself to heal up, and I start backing up as well. Trying to take out Kugath, but there's so much healing going on. Even though he's very low, it's hard to finish him off. And sadly, all my Regiment of Renown Rotting Prometheans are taken out by sitting in these big blobs of Exalted Plague Bears. These guys just ground them down with all their magic damage and stuff. They just couldn't sit there and take those hits forever. Focusing back on Kugath, I just have to commit. I have to take him down. I'm just going to let these Plague Bears chip away at Noculus here while I still try to take him down. I push through some pole arms that were here stuck in the middle fighting Nurglings, I just kind of forced them to run through and chase down Kugath. I just got to finish him off. That's kind of all I was focusing in on this point while the rest of the battle rages. Spreading out, calling in more summons and spreading out my ranged units to get more value out of those. Plague Bears on top of my gunnery mobs. Kugath so low, still being pursued by the pole arms. Count Noculus firing away. Probably a couple more shots here should do the trick and a little bit more damage, and he should go down. Soul Grinder cleaned up in the back line. The Frolickers Bubonics still grinding away, taking down these pole arms. They'll probably win that fight eventually. My mortars in the back are still firing away on his blobs, and finally Count Noculus fires in and finishes off Kugath. We definitely needed that. Now with Kugath taken care of, basically the biggest threat on the battlefield, we start to focus down on some of the other units. Focusing my micro now back to my army and backing up these range units, getting them out of melee. Count Noculus calling in all his summons, really burning through some winds of magic now, putting down another heal on myself, just blowing everything now to finish off whatever's left on the field. Still some festering stooges lingering around, Nurglings finishing off my zombie pirate gunnery mobs. In the backfield, everything is cleaned up. Queen Bess is down, but I still have both mortars online and healthy. Some zombie pirate pole arms here, and it's just, yeah, it's just cleaning up the rest of his units here. Once Kugath went down, the rest kind of fell apart like a house of cards. So we were able to secure the win. Had to use a ton of firepower there, and it was very close for the first little bit, but it was a fun game, fun as always, and appreciate you guys dropping in to watch. Try to do builds that are half entertaining for you guys, so I thought with all this firepower firing in on Nurgling, it'd be kind of fun to watch. So thanks for joining. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.